Welcome back to GoodKnitKisses, and I'm your host Kristen. Today we're going to talk about the Pico Star. The Pico Star is a nice cute little flower or star, 6-pointed, and it is made on the Knifty Knitter 12-peg loom, but you can use one that has a multiple of 2 in it. I would suggest using a loom that's smaller than a 24-peg loom. In fact, we have the Pico petal pattern, which I'm going to be making a video on, which is done on a 24-peg loom. These two can be put together to make a very large 3-dimensional flower. Looks very nice. And we're going to talk about the types of yarn that you can use on that in the project, so stay tuned at the end for more on that. But let's get started making the Pico Star. Start by making a slip knot. This is the modified Drawstring Cast On. We're going to go through the middle of the loom and underneath and put it on our starter peg. And if you don't have a starter peg, you could use like a piece of tape or hold it on another peg or something until you can take it off. All right, so we're going to go around the front of the loom, front of the pegs here, and we're going to work this direction. We're going to work counterclockwise, and I'm going to call this peg 1, and then this is peg 12, or the last peg. So we're actually going to go around the last peg first and the first peg, and then we're going to go around every other peg, just zigzag it around. It's a very easy pattern. All right. Okay, so we're going to leave this in front, this strand over the top of the first one, and we're going to start on peg 1, and we're going to flat knit. So we're going to simply hold this working strand over the top, and we're going to knit over, leaving this one on the front. So we knitted over peg 1. Peg 3 is going to get knitted over. All your even pegs are going to have just this loose working strand in the front. Peg 5, knit over. Peg 7. Okay, and we have peg 11. All right, so we have peg 11. So now we have 2 strands on top, and we're going to go all the way around, and we're going to do our first row. So if it's easier for you, you can turn the loom upside down. Okay, come into focus. All right, so now we can take our strands over the top. We're going to do the first row in a flat knit stitch. We're actually going to do 3 rows in the flat. Oops. Done our first row, and you can take this off. Okay, your loop there. So that's the first one, and now we're going to go do 2 more just like it. So 2 more rows. Pardon my yarn. I actually am reusing some yarn from a frogged project, and because it's okay to use scraps in this project, I think it's all right. If it's not a wearable, it's not going to matter. And if you're wondering, if you're tuning in for the first time and wondering why I have yarn coming out the bottom of my pegs, or you understand because you have a loom like mine where all the pegs pop out, what I did was I stuck some strands of cotton down, 2 strands in fact, and then I put the peg back in, and then I cut off the excess, and it actually is a nice friction fit. I'm going on the 3rd row now. It actually is a nice friction fit to keep the pegs on, and I haven't had my pegs pop off, and I did this last year and made a soap bag. So if you want another little loom along, check out the soap bag video, a little sachet, and you can make it a little longer and make it like a little toothbrush sack for yourself, or it makes a nice little change purse, or for little goodies or personals in a bag or purse. Some people felt them. They make good little Christmas gifts. Anyway, enough with the commercial. Just trying to let you know if you want to watch it. All right, so we are, and if you see that extra little loose strand, it's just this one, so you can just tug on it. We're on our last peg, number 12. Okay, so we're actually done. I know, we're not really done. We're going to do the bind off now. That's it. So we're going to do the Pico bind off. The Pico bind off is the hardest thing about the pattern. It's not that bad, but it's just something that you have to get in a rhythm. So we're actually going to work in the opposite direction for bind off. We're going to work this way. And because you cast it on to the right, we're actually going to be casting on 2 stitches, and then we bind off 4. So every time you have 2 pegs coming together like this, they're going to form 1 picot in between the 2 pegs. So if I have 12 pegs on my loom, I'm going to have 6 picots. If I have a 14 peg loom or 16, then I'm going to have half that amount in picots. Okay, let's get started on our bind off. And I want to show you that we are going to do a new cast on method. It's a new cable cast on. It's slightly different than one that you may have seen, but it clearly matches the needle cast on for cables, cable cast on. So if you'll stick around for after, and I will show you some comparison swatches. Okay, so we are going to make almost like an E-wrap. We're going to come around the back of this last peg here, and we're going to do a traditional knit stitch, but we're not actually going to remove this loop. We're going to pull down this loop here and take it and twist it and put it on the first peg. So we cast it on from this 12th peg and we moved it over here, and now we're going to pull our working strand around from the front and snug it up. Okay, and then now come from the back, and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to pull down this and make a new loop, and this new loop becomes a knit stitch, and we're going to twist it. It actually helps close up some stuff here. So then we're just going to snug that up, and now we've cast it on. So what we want to do is wrap this one and make a U knit here. That's our number 2 peg this direction, and now our number 1 peg, we want to make this a flat knit as well, or U, and then you're going to move over this number 1 peg to the number 2 peg and snug that on up, knit over, and now move this over from the 2 over to the 1. Okay, you're just ignoring these stitches down below, and now we can go ahead and move more stitches over. We're going to bind this off. So knit over the peg number 12, and then take it and put it on top of peg 1, snug that up, and knit over. And so now we have bound off that one. So we had cast it on 2, and now we bound off 2, and we have 2 more to bind off. I'm going to go around, we're going to go and knit this stitch here, which is peg 11, move 11 on top of 12 and knit over, and then move the 12 to 11 We still have to bind this one off. So we're going to take our working strand and we're going to go to peg 10 and bind off peg 10. Move it to 11. And now that's successfully bound off. So all that work, adding 2, casting on 2, and then binding off 4 produces 1 picot right here in between these. And it's very nice design. Previously I had shown it, it has like a little leader, but now that we have this new cast on, it really helps, and it looks great, and it's sturdy. So we're gonna continue this. We're going to cast on 2, bind off 4, cast on 2, bind off 4. In between those, you're gonna do an extra knit stitch. So let's do this again. So take the yarn coming from the existing peg, the last peg, start to wrap it around and make it a knit stitch, pulling that loop through, twisting it and putting it on the next the peg before that was bound off. Do that again to this peg, twist and move, tighten that up, and you can pop that other picot back here and just pull it down with your finger if it's in the way. And so we've cast it on 2. Now we're going to knit 1, and now we're going to do a bind off. So we're binding off this. The bind off is knit that, move it, knit over, move it. All right, so we bound off 1. Now we're going to knit it, move it, work the stitch, which means you're going to knit off this. You're just working it. Going to move it over. So now we've bound off 2. Remember, we're going to bind off 4. Come over here, knit that, move it, work it, move it. This is the last bind off. Work that and move it. And then we have 2 picots. 1, 2. So if you're not sure, just go back over here and say, okay, we have 2 for the starter peg, and then we have another 2. And so we are ready for our next set. We're gonna cast on again. Knit that stitch, flip it. You have to twist and flip it. Pull this back here. Push your picot down if you need it. And I would encourage you to stay for the rest of the video and hear me talk about this new stitch. And Charity Windham developed it, and we worked together on it. And it was developed so that you wouldn't have to use a crochet hook, and it does look different than the one that's mentioned in a couple of written documents, but there is no video on the other one. It's by Becky Hansen, and it just doesn't look the same as a needle knit version. And so this is more like a true cable cast on when you knit it up on needles. So we're calling it the new cable cast on. And just to make sure I have enough, I think I need one more cast off, so I'm just going to go over here, or bind off. So I have 2, 4, 6. Okay, so this one needs to actually go away. So that's a way to kind of double check yourself, and you can mark your loom in sections of 2 if that helps. Okay, so now that's bound off. We just got to move it back. All right, we're getting close to done here, but we've got to cast on some more. Okay, that's that knit stitch in between. I'm going to move these over. If you see this little part here, this is my little picot bumping in here because I'm in a small loom. It just gets pushed in. Okay. And I'd encourage you to really snug up, tighten up these stitches. Now, I mean, don't do it to where it's just over tightened, but you want to make sure and snug them up and make it taut. Otherwise your picots are not going to be nice and firm and consistent. These picots, when they're done this way, look like needle knit versions. So and be sure and watch my channel. I'll be having a Pico cast on for you as well. Alright, so just check in again. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8. Oh. No, I wasn't supposed to do that. You knit the previous stitch in front of it and then move it over. Oops. All right. So if you want to pause your video, I'll keep going if you keep going, and we will meet back up at the end. Thanks. It's due to finish binding off, but I had some technical difficulties with the camera, so my strand is actually already cut, so it's going to look kind of odd. I won't show that cutting off, but what I need to do is go ahead and bind off this stitch here. Okay, and go ahead and wrap it one more time. Add some extra chain in there for you. And then go ahead and cut your strand. And pull it off the loom. And then we've got a, you can keep this loop on here until you've got your crochet hook. So I've already actually cut my strand here, but you can see what it looks like when it attaches here, and see how that works for you. If your yarn is extra like fine and bulky, you might need an extra loop, and so it's nice to do that. I don't think I need that in this case, so I'm actually going to take my loop and pull it out. Okay, and so then I'm just going to end up connecting these two here. You see how that's gonna work like that? So I can grab it from the back, stick my crochet hook in, and pull through the yarn, and then flip it onto the back here. And then you're just gonna tie this off. So we've pulled this on through, and then you just weave it in. You can also knot it. Pull in another loop and then wrap this around. Oops. So So you just wrap it around, pull through another loop, tie that off. You've got a cute little Pico Star. Okay, we have two different Pico Stars, and this star right here is done with a super bulky number 6 yarn. The one next to it is done with 2 worsted weight yarns. So these are 2 worsted weight yarns here, and then this one right here is a super bulky number 6. And this one is also a number 6, but it, I think, looks more like a 5. And this is a roving, which is wasn't classified, but it probably is more like a 6 as well. So anything between those sizes you can do, but I would do a 1 strand if you're going to do a 5 or a 6, and do 2 strands if you do a worsted weight. You can do 3, and you can use the 3-in-1 technique, but when you do that, it'll become extra thick and it'll be harder to pull this middle part. So you'll have a hole in the middle, which might be an element that you're looking for. Say if you wanted to connect these for something, for a scarf or cowl or something cool and funky. And we can do a video on that if you'd like. So you could use 3 of these. If you do 1 all by itself, it becomes very delicate. And these little parts here are going to be a little bit more delicate here. You have these leaders going out, and it's going to be more sort of holey, if you will, almost like a lace work. So if you like that look, or is more of a doily lacy thing, then you could go for that. So thank you again for tuning in to Good Knit Kisses. I'm your host, Kristen, and happy looming. Bye-bye. And if you will stick around, we are going to talk about the cast-on method. And I want to show you a couple of different samples. Okay, well, I just wanted to talk about the cable cast on. And the cable cast on that you just did as part of the tutorial has this edge on it. See how these 2 swatches are identical? They both have this nice clean, neat edge to it. This one is our method that we just did, and this one is actually the needle knit, the true needle knit version for the cable cast on. Now, the one that is shown with a crochet hook that was developed and is in a couple of books, one of them is on loomknit.com and a PDF by Acela Phelps. It showcases the one by Becky Hansen, I'm sorry, and see how it has this little, it's like a braided cable. It has a nice clean edge to it, but it always has this edge, and if you go the other direction, it leans the opposite direction. So see how they're tilted this way to the left, and then these are tilted to the right, and then the bottom part is the opposite. So this is by Becky Hansen. There's no video tutorials on it, but it is in a written format in a couple of places actually. But this new technique was developed by Charity Windham, and Charity and I have been working together on a couple of different cast-ons and things, and so this one is the Loom Knit version, and then this one is the needle version, and you can see how this edge is nice and clean, and it's just a very tidy, neat edge, and then this one's also a tidy, neat edge here. So it's the same thing. So I just wanted to give credit where credit's due. I'm calling it a true cable cast on because it is. This one has a look of an actual, quote, cable, but this is a cable cast on. So this one has a cable cast on sort of look on the edge, but it's got this extra bumpy thing. It would be a great embellishment for something like the bottom edge of a sweater, or some other things, or maybe like an edge of a pillow or something. So anyway, I wanted you to see that. I hope that helps you today. Thanks for tuning in to Good Knit Kisses. I'm your host, Kristen, and happy looming. Bye-bye.